Here is the long-awaited video, and I say long-awaited because I've been wanting to do this for quite a while. Because in fact I have a lot of these chargers that the buttons have been going bad. Okay, let's see, maybe this charger right here. Okay, so that button is working. So we'll take that up. And no, it's not going up. And it's not wanting to go down. Sometimes if you hold it, sometimes you push it fast. Okay, so neither one of the center two buttons are working on this charger. So what I'm going to do is replace these two buttons. And I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to need a few tools to make this job easy. First thing I have is a soldering station. Second thing is something to keep my tip clean. Next thing is a right side solder and a Phillips screwdriver to take the case apart so that I can get to the circuitry. Also a ohm meter would be really nice so that you can check to make sure you orient the switch properly. And a set of tack switches that I got from Radio Shack. My first step is to go ahead and pull the case off of the charger. I removed the 4 screws in the upper section, 1, 2, and then here 3, 4, and now I'm ready to pull the top off. And you just want to make sure that you keep in mind if you have a fan that there's probably going to be a plug, and you're going to want to unplug that rather than damage the cord. And another thing to make sure you do before you disassemble the charger is to make sure you mark which switch or switches you're going to be replacing. In my case, it was the 2 center switches, so I didn't really have to mark those because I could remember them. But if you had only one switch going bad, or that was giving you a problem and you wanted to replace it, then obviously you want to mark that switch, because the worst thing you can do is be at this stage and then not remember which switch it is you need to replace. So I have the switch here that I'm going to be using. The first thing you're going to notice is, hey, that switch doesn't even look anywhere near what this switch does. And you would be correct. However, that's not going to be a problem, because I'm going to show you how to deal with that. Notice this one here has a short knob on it, and this one here has a rather long knob, which again won't be a problem, should not be an issue, and I will show you how to deal with that. So the next thing that I need to do is go ahead and remove these 2 switches, since those are the ones I'm going to be replacing. I'm going to go ahead and remove the circuit board from the lower part of the charger now. With the removal of 3 more screws, I have the circuit board out of the case. And what you want to be careful here is you probably have some padding on the bottom here, and what that does is that transfer the heat off of this component to the aluminum case, which the case actually acts like a heat sink. So you want to be very careful not to remove these from the board, because they are used to transfer heat back to the aluminum case. So now I'm just going to rest this back in the case, and then that way if I need to pull it out, I can. And I will get busy desoldering the switches. And it's actually a pretty simple process, but you got to go about it the right way. To desolder this, it's all about heat transfer. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean my tip, because I want my tip to be clean. Whether you're soldering or desoldering, you want a clean tip, because that's going to help the solder to stick to the tip if that need arises. So now I'm just going to apply some heat, not much, to both of these. And you can see I just pulled that one out. And now, again, I'm being careful not to move these tabs off of here. And we just heat and pull up a little bit at a time, getting both of them together. Okay, so now I have the switch just about out, so now I'm going to do the final side here. Now the switch is gone, so Now I've just removed that switch from this board, and it's like this. So I pulled this switch off, and now I'll go ahead and get the other one. Okay, we've just popped that out. So now I have both switches removed, and it's at this point that I want to go ahead and orient these other switches so that they get installed properly. And it's pretty easy to do. So I'm just going to bend that one down and this one down. So I'll place this over the area where it's going to be soldered, and then I'm going to put my finger on it, and then I'm going to clean my soldering tip. And see, I put it on my tip, and then I clean my tip, and then I put it on the tip and clean it, so that way I have a good clean tip whenever I go to solder this. So now I'm just going to check, and then I'm going to heat up the pad where I've put that switch. And now you can see I've got that switch mounted there. And I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. The same process. And now I have that switch installed. So now I have both switches installed. Let's put it back together, and then I'll get ready and I'll show you how to deal with the fact that this switch now is not only lower, but this knob doesn't fit the switch. So I'll show you how to deal with that. Now I have the switches mounted, and it's time to deal with these pieces here. And so in my case, what I'm going to be doing is removing these tabs. Before you put your case back together, you want to look at all of the pieces that you've broken off, like the pieces that I've just broken off here, and you want to make sure you have those, because the worst thing you can do is have them floating around inside your charger case. So the next thing to do is take a look at this button, and when we press this on here, you might notice that this has got a wedge shape to it. And because of the wedge, whenever we cut some of this off, we're going to remove this space so that this button comes within 1/16 of an inch of this piece right here. So let me do that real quick, and I'm basically just going to use my belt sander and just kind of grind this away. But I don't want to damage the switch. I want to keep the switch intact. So let me go do that, and then we'll come back. Here you can see the before and the after as to how much I took off of that. And then I also took a little bit off of the side, and now I'm going to press this on, and see, we're down fairly close there. We've got about a 32nd, I guess. But the idea is, if we set that on the top and we look at it, you're going to see that now the switch is about the same height as the other one. Now I have that one about the right height. So, and these, that should be fine. Now, the next task is for me to go ahead and plug the fan up. Final step is now to insert the buttons. So I'm just going to place the buttons in here like this. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate the charger upside down so that my buttons stay in place. And now you can see that I have the buttons, and I'm going to put the screws in it, and then we will go and check the charger. And you can see there that this button here is the original button. This is the original button. This is one of the new buttons, and that's one of the new buttons. Now the thing you got to keep in mind is you're going to hear 2 clicks now. And of course you'll hear the beep if it works. So let me put the screws in it. We'll go back out in the trailer and plug it up, and let's see if it works. Okay, so now we find out if in fact we have repaired the button issue. So with the charger turned on, power supplied, let's see, we'll first change it to LiPo balance charge, so therefore we're going to do that, and let's run it to a 4-cell. So we're going to go up to a 4-cell. That button's working, and we want to take it down to, let's just say 2 amps, and that button's working. So clear that these buttons are now working. So a charger that has been revived. So I hope this has helped, and if you have any questions, you can always send me an email. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the hobby.